beer cheese in a bread bowl, and by far one of the most delicious snacks you can serve at any football party or any like Tuesday night for that matter. So I started with a sourdough bread bowl, and I cut a rim around the edge, and I pulled out the pieces of bread, and I'm just cutting the bread into chunks. You can also just tear it. It doesn't need to be like in neat pieces. Okay, now I'm gonna flavor the bread. So I'm gonna get some olive oil, just enough to brush over all the bread, and I'll grate in some garlic. It's amazing the difference that a little bit of garlic makes here. And then some crushed red pepper flakes. Tell you what, never gets old. And then I'll stir it up with the brush, and I'm just gonna brush it over the chunks of bread. So what you wanna do is you wanna brush the inside of the bread bowl and the outside just to give it a nice color. So I'll put the bread bowl on the sheet pan, and then the rest of the olive oil goes over the bread. And I'll put Parmesan cheese in here. All up the sides, all over the chunks. And then it gives the bread a nice, sharp flavor. All right, let's go get this in the oven. I'm gonna bake the bread at 375 degrees until it's nice and golden and crisp. And while that happens, let's move over to the stove. And I'm going to make the beer cheese, which will change your life in an instant. So I've got some olive oil and butter in a skillet, and I'm going to add some sliced onions with some garlic, lots of flavor in this delicious appetizer. And then I just need to cook the onions for 5 minutes until they're soft. Okay, look at these soft onions, Alex. They look just right. So I'm gonna add about a 1/4 cup of flour. Now, cheese by itself is good enough, but part of what makes this dip so incredible is that it has half a bottle of beer. So you can use any kind of beer you want, any kind of ale, and then I'm gonna stir and scrape up all the flavorful bits from the onion, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat down. So look how quickly that thickened, Alex. Look at this.
Wow, that is
Look
thick.
at that. And then to help the creaminess, I'm gonna add some milk. And then just stir it around and make sure that the milk is totally heated. And while it heats up, I'm gonna add some Dijon mustard. Grainy mustard, spicy mustard, anything you want. We're going to add the word cheese to that enormously long title. So I've got fontina cheese, cheddar cheese, and mozzarella cheese. And what do you think, Mauricio? Should we add some red pepper flakes? Just a little?
Just a little.
Okay, I'm stirring in the cheese. Yum, look, Alex, you gotta get in here, honey. Black pepper.
Oh, baby.
Okay, so should we go get the bread out of the oven?
Let's do it.
Okay, look, Alex. Oh, how delicious.
Yum. Wow, that color.
So crispy and wonderful. Okay, so here is the fun part. I've got a little platter with carrots, celery, pretzels, little skewers for the bread. Whoop, put the bread bowl, bowl on there.
Skewers down.
Hold on, everyone. And then I'll grab some of the chunks of bread. Okay.
This is where the magic happens.
Seriously, where the magic happens. Ready?
Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
I'll just eat it with a spoon.
I mean, we need to go to confession after this. Oh, look at this, guys. I think I should. I think I should. I think I shall. Here goes. Beer cheese for the win. Salt and some dry mustard. Love the flavor of dry mustard in mac and cheese. I try to always add it. Some hot sauce, of course.
For sure.
Ooh, it's really heating up in there. So I have 3 kinds of cheese that I'm going to add to the sauce. I'm gonna start with the good stuff. This fine, cultured cheese from the south of France. Or not. It's processed cheese from America. And then a cup of cheddar. and a cup of Gruyere, which I think sort of elevates and cancels out the processed cheese. Don't you think, Alex?
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm just gonna whisk. Is there any black pepper anywhere? Oh, yay, Mauricio's here with the black pepper. Yay, thank you. I can't have mac and cheese without black pepper. Okay, so this is the sauce. Look at this. I've been boiling mac and cheese. And I'm sorry, I've been boiling macaroni. Why didn't you guys stop me?
I don't know, I kind of thought about it.
Oh, I love this contraption. You know that phrase, farm to table?
Yeah.
Well, this is pan to pan. Oh, baby. All right. So I'm gonna stir this around. Oh my word. This looks tremendously delicious. I'm just gonna let the macaroni sit in the sauce, and I'm gonna make a cheese topping. So I've got the rest of the Gruyere, the rest of the cheddar, and Parmesan. All right, I got that topping mixed together. This is just a really cheesy topping. You can do breadcrumbs if you want, but I really don't think this mac and cheese needs it. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. All right, so come to the oven, and I'm gonna show you a little trick. I put this sheet pan in a 425-degree oven about a week ago. No, I'm just kidding. A while ago. So it is very, very, very hot. And the first thing I'm gonna do is just spray the bottom, just for good measure. And then, are you ready?
Mm-hmm. OMG. Oh my gosh, it's sizzling.
Sizzle.
That's the whole point. And then not only do you get that sort of crispy surface on the top when it bakes, it also like gets off to a good sizzly start
Wow.
before you even put it in the oven. So, you know what's gonna happen next. It had to happen, guys, it had to happen. Cheese everywhere. I love it, I love it, I love it. Okay, back to the oven.
Back to the oven we go.
All right, so in it goes at 425 until the cheese is bubbly. It's gonna be heaven. Whoa. You don't have to sprinkle anything on top, but I love a little basil. I'll never argue with basil. Look.
I will take the first serving.
Oh, Alex, look under there. See, to me, this is the best of both worlds because I love baked mac and cheese that has a lot of like crusty cheese on top. And sometimes there's too much cheese underneath, but look at this. Sheet pan mac and cheese. Can I take a bite first, please? I gave you life.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Love it. Okay, we are making very cheesy potatoes au gratin. Nothing better than just a baked, bubbly, brown, cheesy casserole of potatoes. So I just diced up a whole bunch of russet potatoes, and I actually did not even peel them. I left the peel on, but I scrubbed them really clean and cut them into a small dice. And now I'm gonna make the milk/cream mixture, which is a cup of milk and 3 cups of cream. Bunch of salt, because that is a bunch of potatoes, and pepper. And then what you need to kind of make the sauce thicken while it bakes is flour. So I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of flour. You don't have to add the flour, but the sauce will be a little bit on the thin side when you bake it. So then just whisk it. Okay, that's all whisked together. So I'll bring the dish up, and then all of this gets poured over. Now this bakes for 2 stages. So for the first stage, it's just the creamy mixture, and then in the second stage, I'll add all the cheese on top, okay? Cover with foil. All right, we're gonna put this into the oven. It's gonna bake for the first stage at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. And then we'll peel back the veil of the foil and add all the cheese. I got the potatoes out of the oven temporarily, and I'm just gonna take the foil off, and I'm gonna mix this enormous mountain of cheese that you see. This is a mixture of fontina cheese and white cheddar cheese and, oh, and like white processed cheese. But basically you wanna add so much cheese to the top of this dish that it would shock your parents. I mean, there's so much cheese here, but that's part of the dish. And actually it kind of melts and seeps down into the sauce. So this goes back into the 400-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes until that cheese is totally melted and bubbly and very brown. Look.
Wow.
Look at all that cheese. Potatoes.
Cheesy potatoes.
I love it. Cheesy stuffed pasta. So I started with a whole bunch of whole milk ricotta. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. Very exciting in that bowl.
Exciting.
And then a whole bunch of pesto. I'm just gonna add half this amount. This is a stunner of a recipe, and it's great for friends if you're having people over for dinner. It's great for a weeknight, but it does take some assembly, so you might want to save it for some of those special people in your life and not just your teenage boys. So I added salt, pepper, pesto to the ricotta, and I'm going to stir together. And then I've also got some grated fontina cheese, very creamy and wonderful. And I'm going to add half of that to the ricotta mixture. It's kind of fun when you just use 8 ingredients. You can then concentrate your time and effort on the actual assembly and, you know, cooking, baking of the recipe. Okay, so that's all there is to the ricotta mixture. Okay, now it's time to stuff the pasta, but before I do that, I'm gonna stuff this piping bag. Okay, gosh, that's about as full as a piping bag can be. So, I'm gonna snip off the end. It's much easier to fill this pasta using a piping bag. Hold on, I have to switch hands. So for the pasta, I am using pecari, which is like oversized rigatoni. Have you ever seen pasta this huge in your life? But the good thing is it's big enough to stuff. So I'm just gonna put the piping bag in and squeeze, can you see that? Mm-hmm. Until it's totally stuffed with the ricotta mixture. And then I have a springform pan that is usually reserved for cheesecakes, but what you do is you stand up the pasta so it's standing up. Now, you can probably imagine, I'm gonna do this exact same thing with the rest of the pasta and the rest of the ricotta, and I am gonna fill this springform pan. It's gonna take me about 10 minutes, so I'll see you on the other side. Last one, watch Alex. This is very exciting. Get in there. Can you believe this? Oh, this is my kind of dish, let me just tell you. Pasta, cheese, pesto, seriously my favorite things, and Alex's too for that matter. So one of the 8 ingredients is a jar of Alfredo sauce, and then the rest of the pesto, and then I'm gonna stir it around with a little bit of the pasta water from when I made the pecari. So it's a little bit liquidy, but that's good because it's gonna go over the pasta and get inside, and watch what happens. Ready? It's gonna go down into the cracks and crevices. And without that pasta water addition, it would be a little too thick and it might kind of collect on top, and then there'd be problems. But isn't this great? Usually springform pans are for cheesecake. They're not just for cheesecake anymore. And try to get all around the edges. Can you see? Mm-hmm. Everywhere you see room. My goodness. This should be a crime, to be honest. So then the rest of the fontina. But how good would this be for company? And you just pull it out of the oven and just watch your guests faint. But you could serve this like with a beautiful Caesar, or you could serve it with like prime rib or beef tenderloin. So good. All right, let's go to the oven, Alex. Woo! Goodness. You wanna bake this at 400 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes until it's bubbly and luscious and wonderful. Now this is my kind of cheesecake right here. The cheese
Wow.
is melted and brown around the edges.
So bubbly.
So, are you feeling lucky today?
I'm kind of nervous about
I'm a little
how
nervous
this is
too,
gonna
but
turn
that's
out.
the whole point of this dish, is to like untether it
Oh my
and
gosh.
just unleash it on the world.
Do it.
All right, here we go. Ready? Oh, it's gorgeous. You could leave it in the pan and just like scoop it out. But to me, it looks like something that needs to be sort of sliced in a wedge. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I guess.
Alex is like, I don't care, just give me some of it.
As long as you give me a helping.
It really does cut like a cake.
Wow.
Seriously, this is so cool. Okay, oh boy. All right, we're just gonna try. Oh, no. Well, that was a fun idea while it lasted, but here we go. I pulled it off too soon. It needed about 10 more minutes to just sit and really become one. But it really doesn't matter, because what's beautiful about this dish is this enormous pasta stuffed with all the good stuff of life. All right? Look at this.
I think I need that.
Can you see
Yum.
how beautiful that looks? I am gonna take a bite. And just 8 ingredients. This is not like a complicated list of ingredients. Ready? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Mm-hmm. I am making sheet pan quesadillas. I've got big tortillas, and I'm gonna make each one overlap and overhang. So I'm gonna start with 4 big ones, and then 2 on the end like this, on either end. Okay, so you see where I'm going with this? And then 1 right in the middle to cover the bottom. And then I have all of these ingredients to add. First, 2 cups of cheddar cheese, and then rotisserie chicken. It's a great shortcut ingredient. Okay, for seasoning, good taco seasoning. Green chilies, just sprinklage. You don't even have to drain. Black olives. I'm kind of on an olive kick, to be honest with you. And then roasted corn, frozen. I let it thaw so it didn't have that iciness. I didn't want it to make the quesadilla watery. And then I'm gonna do spoonfuls of salsa, just here and there and everywhere. Okay, and then the rest of the cheese, of course. And now it's about folding in the sides, okay? So that's one side. And then you pull the other ones in. Pull in the ends like this. Isn't this cool?
Yeah, that is cool.
And then to fill in this spot, there's 1 tortilla left. And then you definitely wanna generously brush the top with butter.
There we go.
You can't just put it in like this. You take a second sheet pan and you actually press it on top.
Oh.
Okay, so it kind of presses it closed.
Now you're talking.
Let's go to the oven. 450 degrees, 20 minutes. See you back here then. Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
This is monumental, momentous.
Whoa.
Wow.
Look at that thing. Is that amazing or what?
That's awesome.
I'm gonna use a pizza cutter because I think that's gonna be the best method. Oh, it looks great. Yum. Oh my gosh, there's cheese everywhere. Look at that.
Oh, boy, boy.
How good does that look? And then, as I am wont to do, I'll add some sour cream and sprinkle on some
Avocado.
I'm just sprinkling avocado at this point. And then hot sauce, my fave. Use your fave, whichever that is. Look at this, you guys. And then some cilantro, sprinkle over, some lime juice. I thought I had this whole quesadilla game figured out. I was wrong. This is a game changer. I'm just making a quick soup. This is a really quick and easy corn and cheese chowder. I've had some onions cooking and some butter, and I threw in some pieces of bacon. Now I'll just stir this around and let it cook. And I've also got some diced bell pepper. I've got red, orange, and yellow because they're so pretty together, but you can use whatever you have on hand. Okay, I'm gonna let the peppers cook. And then I've shaved the kernels off of 5 cobs of corn. And I'm just gonna dump the corn in. This is a piece of cake, this soup recipe, but you wouldn't know it when you taste it. It is extremely impressive and yummy. Now stir the corn around. Okay, now I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of flour. Just sprinkle it over the ingredients and give it a stir. And now I'll just pour in some chicken broth as I dribble it across the counter. So I'm gonna grab 1/2 and 1/2. You can use milk instead of 1/2 and 1/2, but why would you want to do that? So I'm just gonna add a little salt, good amount of pepper, and just give it a stir, and that is it. All you need to do is put the lid on, let it simmer for about 15 minutes or so. Oh my. Oh, it looks so good. It's really thickening up. The kitchen smells divine. Now I'm just gonna finish off the soup by adding some cheese. I've got a cup of Monterey Jack, which I think is great in soups because it's so creamy and it melts so nicely. And then I'm also gonna add a cup of pepper jack cheese. That's gonna add a nice kick. I'll stir it in. Oh, the cheese really, really sends this soup over the top. So good. And then last thing, I've got some sliced green onions, about 1/3 cup or so. And that is one yummy soup. But I think I should make sure it's one yummy soup. I'm gonna give it a taste. Yep, my suspicions were confirmed. It's perfect. All right, I had some onions and garlic browning in a pan, and I just added 1 pound each of ground beef and Italian sausage. And I'm just gonna break this up as it browns. I'll add a 28-ounce can of whole tomatoes, juice and all, and then a couple of regular cans of tomato sauce. You can also do jarred marinara sauce if you have that. Either one will work. And then just to give it a little spice, I know the 6 Drummond kids can handle it, some crushed red pepper flakes, and then about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. I love this baked ziti. Anytime I have to feed a bunch of people, I whip it up. Then a little salt and pepper. Okay, now I'll just let the meat sauce simmer for about 25 to 30 minutes to make sure it's really flavorful. And while it simmers, I'll whip up the cheese mixture for the baked ziti. So the first cheese is ricotta, just a tub. The next is mozzarella. I'll grate 1.5 pounds and add about 2 cups, keeping the rest for later. And I'll also grate 1/2 cup of Parmesan and add it in with the other cheeses. Next, it's 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons of minced parsley, some salt, and pepper. And then I'll just stir it together a couple of times. Okay, the cheese mixture's all combined. Now I'll get the pasta in to cook. I'm using 1 pound of ziti pasta. You can do penne, mostaccioli, any short pasta is just fine. Just pour it in. All right, now I'll just let the pasta cook for about 10 minutes until it's done. Now the pasta is all cooked. I rinsed it under cold water because I wanted it to stop cooking. And I'm just gonna pour it into the bowl with the delicious cheese mixture. And then I'll stir this so the pasta gets coated in all that wonderful ricotta, all that mozzarella. Okay, now the sauce should be slightly cooled. So I'll pour it right in with the pasta and the cheese. Now the purpose of this is just to give the cheese-coated pasta a little bit of a coating of sauce. Now I'll start the layering process. I'll add half of the pasta into this dish, and then I'll spread it all into an even layer. Now I'll top the pasta with half of the sauce. The sauce looks so good. It's been bubbling away. It's really dark and rich looking. You could just boil up some pasta, top it with this. That would be a great dinner too. Okay, now I'll just spread the sauce into an even layer. Now on top of the sauce, I'll add a little more grated mozzarella. And then I'll start the whole process again. And this is going to be the perfect dinner for those 6 Drummond kids. I'm just gonna cover it with foil. The baked ziti goes in 375-degree oven until it's bubbly, so like 25 minutes or so.
Okay. Okay guys, pass your plates down and I'll serve you up. There we go.
Broccoli rice casserole is a cherished Thanksgiving staple. I started by sauteing some finely minced onion with a little bit of garlic in butter. It's nice and soft. So I'm gonna move forward with making a scrumptious sauce. I'm gonna thicken it up with flour, about 1/4 cup, and I let the flour cook just a little bit. So I'm gonna add half a teaspoon of mustard powder and 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. So I'll stir those in. Ooh, that cayenne, I kind of got a little whiff of it. So now I've got 3 cups of whole milk. I'm gonna turn the heat up just a little bit, and I'll stir the onion and flour mixture while I pour in the milk. Now I need to let this heat up, and it's gonna bubble up and thicken. That'll take about 3 minutes. Amazing. I'm gonna make the sauce a little more creamy by adding some cream cheese. I'm gonna kind of break it up as I add it. I'm gonna add some grated Parmesan. Okay, that is looking good. So I'll grab some salt and pepper. And I like to add quite a bit of pepper. You really can't add too much pepper. At least in my neck of the woods, you can't. And I've got some paprika, and I'll just add about half a teaspoon. So I'll mix that in. So much flavor. Okay, now the cheeses for broccoli rice casserole are very important. You've got to start with good old processed cheese. I cut it into cubes. There is nothing creamier than this cheese when you add it to a sauce. Now I've got some freshly grated sharp cheddar, and I'm gonna add about 1.5 cups, and I'll save the rest to go over the casserole when it goes into the oven. So you're probably wondering, well, what about the broccoli? That goes in now. I've got 8 small heads. Make sure all that broccoli is coated in the cheesy goodness. Okay, it's pretty thick, but that's exactly what you want. So I'm gonna add some sliced pimentos. Pimentos are something I have in my pantry all the time because there are so many casseroles that I'll just kind of add a jar to. This is really looking perfect. So I'll turn off the heat. And now it's time to assemble the casserole, which is so much fun. I've got some cooked long grain rice, and I'm gonna add half of this bowl to the casserole. Spread out the rice, and then half of this luscious broccoli cheese sauce goes in, and then the rest of the rice goes on. The rest of the sauce, and the rest of the grated sharp cheddar. Now I'm gonna put this into the oven at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. I'm gonna be heading to church soon, and I cannot wait because that means I'm gonna get to eat this beautiful broccoli rice casserole at the potluck. How good does this look? I cannot recommend this enough. You dive in, and at this point, words fail me. Looks so good. Obviously, at a potluck, there'd be a lot more food to go with it, but I just wanted to show you its deliciousness. I'm gonna make a big batch of cheese-stuffed pasta shells with tomato sauce. They are very, very popular in my house. Now, I've been grating up a bunch of cheeses, and I'll make the filling for the pasta shells. It starts with a whole bunch of ricotta cheese. I'm actually making 2 pans of shells, one to pop in the freezer and one to take home for dinner tonight. This is a lot of ricotta cheese. Now for some sharper cheese, I've got some grated Parmesan and grated Romano. I also have 2 eggs, and those go right in. I'm just gonna get some basil and parsley together. This is a really great meatless meal. I love it because you can serve the shells with a salad, and that's a great meal in itself. And then some salt and pepper. This is a lot of cheese mixture, so it really needs some seasoning. And then I'll just use my muscles to get this all combined. Now, part of what makes this so easy is that you can use jarred marinara sauce. And I'll just put a little bit in the bottom of the pan, just to have a little foundation of sauce. And now I boiled a whole bunch of jumbo pasta shells. I'll hold it open with my hand and get some of the delicious cheesy filling. And then it goes cheese side down in the sauce. I'm gonna fill up this pan, then I'll do the other one. I'll top the whole thing with more marinara sauce. Just pour it right out of the jar. And that is why jarred marinara sauce is so wonderful. You just crack open the jar and go for it. Now, cheese again. I have a whole bunch of grated mozzarella, and it melts so beautifully over the top of these shells. Now I have some leftover Romano and Parm, and it goes on. Now I'll just cover these with foil and dream about digging into this tonight. So just 25 minutes in a 350-degree oven, and it'll be nice and hot. Everyone gets a big helping of shells. I just love the way the sauce coats the pasta and a little of the cheesy filling peeps out. Yum. Then it just needs some crusty bread, a sprinkle of chopped parsley, and that's dinner. My 7-year-old is about to get the birthday surprise of his life. It doesn't get more adult and kid-friendly than macaroni and cheese and little hamburgers, so that's what we're working on. I'm gonna make the mac and cheese first because it can stay in the fridge for a while, and then I'll bake it later. I've got some butter melting on the stove, and I'll add some flour to that to make a roux. You know, when we have birthday parties for the kids around our place, we don't have piñatas and 50 kids running around. It's pretty much a family gathering, another excuse to get the family together. And I'm just whisking it together over kind of medium-low heat. My husband, Lad, has both of our boys out on the ranch doing work. He's trying to keep our baby occupied so he doesn't find out the secret about the surprise party.
You gotta hold it up high like this so you get on their backs, okay? Okay, you wanna go put the spray truck up? All right, maybe we can get something big.
Okay, the roux's been bubbling for a few minutes, and now I'm gonna add the milk. Whisk it as you add it. Now this needs to cook for a good 5 minutes to bubble up. So I'm gonna add the macaroni to the boiling water. I'm making 2 pounds of macaroni noodles. Don't be alarmed, I have a really large family to feed. And then to this white sauce, I'm going to add some dry mustard. I really like the flavor of dry mustard, so I add quite a bit. I'm adding 4 teaspoons, but if you're not quite sure how you'll feel about it, add 2 and then give the white sauce a taste and see if you like it. Then you can always add more. Now, as if the white sauce isn't rich enough, I'm gonna make it just a little bit richer by adding some beaten eggs. And it just kind of takes it over the top and makes it ultra decadent. But before I add the beaten eggs to the hot white sauce, I need to temper the eggs a little bit. So while I whisk the eggs, I'll just drizzle in some of the hot white sauce. And just like you don't want to jump into a freezing cold pool, You don't want to pour beaten eggs into a really hot pan of sauce or they'll turn to scrambled eggs. Whisk the white sauce and just drizzle them in slowly. Okay, the white sauce is really thick, it's really smooth, and it's really rich with the addition of the eggs. I've got a bunch of grated sharp cheddar. I'm gonna leave off a couple of cups of cheese because we'll need to top the finished macaroni and cheese with it. You just need to stir the grated cheese into the white sauce. And please resist the temptation to stick a large tablespoon in here and start eating it out of the pot. I speak from experience here. Okay, add a little bit of seasoning, salt, a little bit of seasoned salt. This is optional, but just use whatever seasoned salt you have in your pantry. And black pepper. I like to use this, what I call black dust. And the cheese sauce is done. And in goes the macaroni. This is pretty much all I ate for the first 10 years of my life. It's the only reason I grew as a child, because I ate macaroni and cheese. Okay, just stir it, make sure all the macaroni is evenly coated. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. Can I borrow a fork? Okay, it's done. Now we just need to pour it into the pans. Oh my gosh. I mean, this is a lot of macaroni and cheese. Have you ever seen anything like this in your life? I'm almost ashamed, but only almost. I do kind of wish I'd lifted weights for the past couple of months though. This is heavy. Oh. And then sprinkle the extra cheese on top. And that is about the most delicious looking mac and cheese in the world. And I think I probably should taste it just to make sure it's okay. For my children, of course. And speaking of the children, I hope my baby hasn't found out about the surprise party yet. It's his first surprise party, so I'm hoping it all goes off without a hitch. That is good.